Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Coaching from the Couch. This is your Washington Commanders update, and I'm your host, Candy CWall Waller from Bowie Television, as I always love to do in checking in to give you all the latest and greatest of information on the Washington Commanders. Can you believe it? We are in NFL Week 10. And next up are the Pittsburgh Steelers. As always, we have so much to discuss. In this episode, we're going to start off with probably some of the biggest news of this week. And that was on trade deadline day, the Washington Commanders making the trade for former now New Orleans Saints cornerback Marshon Lattimore. Big deal, big deal, big deal, especially given that we know two of the other teams that were in the running for Marshon were the Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens. The fact that the Washington Commanders won that trade because they outbid the other suitors says a whole lot. So we're going to get into that conversation. We're going to talk a bit about Whitt, about what Coach Joe Whitt Jr. I said Whitt. What Coach Joe Whitt Jr. get tucked out here had to say about the Commanders' win against the Giants and what he has to share about things to look out for with the Pittsburgh Steelers. As always, we have clips from all of the pressers, from Coach Kingsbury, as well as Dan Quinn. I'm going to share a one-on-one interview that I had with running back Jeremy McNichols. We have a lot to discuss. As you can see, I'm already getting tongue-tied, you all. So if you're watching from YouTube, I certainly hope that you are subscribed to the Bowie TV channel and you are enjoying all of the things that you have here on this channel to watch and enjoy. If you're watching from your television screens, hello, hello, hello. In the city of Bowie, Maryland, and surrounding areas, you can always find this channel on Verizon, channel 11, or if you you've subscribed or have Comcast Xfinity, channel 77. Maybe I'm getting so tongue-tied because I'm excited. Am I maybe excited about this game against the Pittsburgh Steelers? I don't know. Who knows? But listen, let's get on into it. Some other key updates. I'm sure you all have already known and seen that running back Brian Robinson Jr. is out again this week with a hamstring injury. Of course, we will get into that a bit more later on into the episode. And also, as of note as well, there's a hip injury to kicker Austin Seibert. The team signed another kicker to the practice squad. This is something to keep your eye on, as well as the team announced today that long snapper Tyler Ott has an illness and is now also questionable for the matchup against the Steelers. In the event that Tyler Ott is not able to go, the team's backup long snapper is guard Nick Allegretti. Okay, so important points, always things to note. Make sure you always have your notepad and your pen nearby to be taking all of these notes. You can remember these things when I mention them to you all, whether you're following me, whether you're watching the show, you can always remember that CWall said. Okay? All righty, you all, let's go ahead and get into these clips. And while you're watching, definitely share in the comments, how did you feel about the trade for cornerback Marshon Lattimore? You all have already seen all of the on-site media updates that he has not really practiced all this week. He will also be held out of this game, which should have been expected. This is a short week for the Commanders. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers and then Thursday night football, big division matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles. So short week will be interesting to see how the roster may fluctuate as a result of these two very tough teams in this short week. Week 10 and then week 11. And then there's that 10-day kind of span of maybe quiet time, hopefully, before the Commanders have to face another division rival. At this point, they're all rivals as far as I'm concerned in the NFC East. But the division rival, Dallas Cowboys. So that's a rundown of all the things, key injuries of note. Cornelius Lucas is out again with an ankle injury. Again, key injuries to note, kind of what's the outlook or the games for the remainder of the month of November. As far as I'm concerned, they're all big games at this point. Can't say, oh, this is a big, big game. Listen, this team treats them all like they're big games. And hey, after the first 9 weeks, we can certainly see why. So let's go ahead and get into the first clip with Adam Peters when he addressed the media earlier this week and discussed the trade for Marshawn Lattimore.
Really excited about getting Marshawn. He came in this morning, got a chance to meet him. He's what we thought he was as a person, as a competitor. And just want to thank really all the people that went into this, and it's a lot. You know, it's not just me sitting there making calls on the deadline day. It's really it's months, and our pro scouting staff making calls and canvassing the league and watching players throughout that whole time. Our R&D department doing a lot of work on a lot of different players, and most of this doesn't even see the light of day for anybody outside of our building. And they do a ton of work and did a lot of write-ups on a lot of different guys, and then we had a lot of people calling around the league, and we have I think we had Martin Mayhew, Chris Whitt, Lance Newmark, Scott Fitterer, David Blackburn, all just canvassing the league for weeks and weeks and just seeing what we could get and if there's anything out there. And a lot of it just goes and nothing happens. But this year we were able to make something happen that we're all really happy about. And when you get to a certain point, you involve the coaches, and they do a great job giving you an opinion of how a player fits into your scheme. And really, there's a lot of people to thank. Certainly Mickey Loomis was really, really professional and really all that he did in terms of his communication and being straightforward. So I thank him a lot for the way he dealt with this. And really the biggest thing is we're really, really excited to get one of the best corners in the entire league and a guy who fits how we play. He's a 4-time Pro Bowler. He's a dog competitor. He's he's what you want in a corner, and what's really cool is we were able to know a lot more about him. With he's one. And you guys probably read a cool story about this, but we have 4 players from the Ohio State 2014 recruiting class now, and so we're trying to corner the market there. Those guys are pretty good. I don't know how they lost any games, but so there's some guys in this locker room that knew him already, and so that's going to make this transition even easier, and we're pumped to have him.
So all great things, and I can certainly sense it, not just from the organization, but from the fan base. Wow, this organization has given the fan base so much to be cheering about, so much to be looking forward to. I think probably for myself, as I'm watching this all unfold, it's, hey, look, if we're being really honest and objective, right, this was an area of maybe not, I want to say concern, but if the team had an opportunity to get better in any area, it would be in the secondary. So for the Commanders to land a corner the caliber of Marshawn Lattimore is huge. I want to go back to the point of the other teams that were wanting Marshawn, were seeking Marshawn. That is a big deal to note. The Kansas City Chiefs, the Baltimore Ravens, those are the caliber of organizations that said, hey, we want this guy. Saints, you all are selling, we're buying. That's who we want. What do you need from us? So for the Commanders to be like, hey, we're in this thing. And it's not like, I don't think that the draft picks that were given up, these were draft picks, two of them that they were earned over just from this summer, right, from the trades of Jahan Dotson as well as the trades of John Ridgeway, which I think that some folks forgot about. Some folks forgot that the team traded John Ridgeway, right before the initial 53-man roster was set. So they had some picks to give for a dynamic player. So it almost lets you know, hey, this team has aspirations to win right now. Remember, we've been talking about this. What's recalibrate mean? What does it all mean? It should be no more questions. We all know what it means. The team is sitting at 7-2. They've had aspirations to win right now. If you all have been paying attention to any of the scrums this week from players and coaches alike, they're all saying the same thing. Prime position, every game is a big game. They want to win now. They want to go far now. And then we'll deal with the future when we get to the future. But today, win right now. Hey, can't be mad at that at all. Next up, let's move into the clip of defensive coordinator Joe Whitt Jr. talking about the team's win against the New York Giants and going forward to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
With the Giants, I thought we started off, the game correctly. I think we've started off the last couple games, the right way. We're not giving up a lot of points in the first quarter, first half. Second half, we, they hit some plays on us. We got to shore up the run. The one disappointing play was at the end where the tight end hit the ball up the seam. That was a check where Baltimore hit this same touchdown. I think Andrews up the seam, same check. That won't happen again because I took that check out because apparently we don't execute it well enough. All right, so and it was frustrating that happened. The points should have been at a minimum, and we let them get 7 there where they shouldn't have. The guys, the style that we want to play is still run and hit, and that did come to life. I thought Jeremy Chin just played an outstanding football game. He was all over the place. It was needed. And so now, we have to transition to Pittsburgh. And, as we transition to Pittsburgh, everybody knows we have Marshawn with us now, and we're excited to have him, man. I've watched this guy since he came out of college. He's a dog, all right? And I watched his interview yesterday, and he talked about his dog mentality, and that's what he is. He goes out there and fight. He get up there and press. He'll challenge anybody. So he's a great addition. And then also what's been just a really nice thing to see is the other guys in the building be excited for him to be there. I didn't know if I was going to see some guys with their heads down because you bring in a talent like this. Some other guys might say, well, I'm going to lose opportunity. And they might be saying that. I don't know. All right. But that's the business. But nobody's acting that way. And so that's a credit to DQ and AP and the brotherhood and the culture that's being set here, that everybody is bringing them in, helping them, teaching them, talking to them. And as soon as we can get them out there, we will. When that will be, I don't know. Okay. So please don't ask me because I don't know when that will be.
So listen, you all know that in CWall words, Coach Joe Whitt gonna always keep it a buck, right? He's gonna say, much like we've heard him say in the past, don't ask me, I do not know. Now I'm sure at this point, perhaps he knows. But earlier in the week, he's probably like, no, don't ask me, I don't know. So some of the things to note, and I have, as you all always know, my notebook and my notepad and my pen here as well to jot down my thoughts and other things that may come to me that as I'm listening to these clips. I always have a plan and always know how we're going to execute these shows, but I always then say, you know what? I didn't think about that. Make sure I mention this. Make sure we go back to this point. Can we go back to the point that everyone uses the same word to describe Marshawn Lattimore, and that's a dog. A dog, right? He has the mentality of how this team wants to play. He is a real life example of that. I thought it was also huge for Coach Whitt to note that no one had their head hanging down. This is a testament to the environment and the culture that Dan Quinn and Adam Peters have created. Guys are excited. As I mentioned earlier, it is a lot of excitement all around for him to be there. It doesn't appear, and I would agree with Coach Whitt, just from what I've observed as well, it does not appear that anyone is upset by this addition to the team. Everyone knows the assignment. If we were never, ever, ever, ever clear before about what the assignment is, this team wants to win now. And getting into the grit of the trade bidding for Marshawn Lattimore and winning proves just that. I want to go back to Coach Whitt talking about the Giants game and that touchdown by the tight end rookie Theo Johnson. Same check as what happened in the Ravens game, with Mark Andrews. He's absolutely correct, because when I saw it happen, I said, that's the same thing that happened with Mark Andrews in the Ravens game. It was literally almost the exact same play that the Giants executed. And then what does Coach Whitt say? He said, yeah, that won't happen again because I took that check out. How about it? Accountability in action. If something's not working, take it out. Like he said, clearly we don't execute that one very well. So it only took 14 points, which I'm impressed by. It only took twice, 2 touchdowns. Can't let that happen again. For Coach Whitt to say, mark that one off. Don't want to deal with that one again. Also, his mention of Jeremy Chinn. If you all watch my live game recap, you all know that I've talked a lot about Jeremy Chinn, wanting to see what he would do, kind of just watching how he each and every week just is now turning into this baller. And yes, he had a tremendous game at MetLife Stadium last Sunday. So hoping to see more of that from Jeremy Chinn. I may have mentioned on a previous episode, it's always so interesting to see how Jeremy Chinn plays because he's so quiet. And I mean, all of them are so super kind, but Jeremy Chinn is so soft-spoken and quiet. But when he is on that field, I'm talking about the alter ego definitely takes over. So shout out to him for all of the things that he is doing. Let me go ahead and jump then. Speaking of Jeremy Chinn, and then I'll work backwards here a bit. Coach Joe Whitt talking a bit more about what he's seen from Jeremy Chinn so far this season.
Going back to Jeremy Chinn, what sort of leadership has he brought to the secondary as a whole, and when did you really start to see him, really get comfortable in the scheme and the things you guys were preaching on defense?
Oh, that's a good question. I think he, with him playing for Jason Simmons in Carolina, Jason already told me what he was. And I saw that initially early. He's smart. He's quiet. And so I had to get him to be more vocal with the calls because he is so smart. He can help everybody around him. Now what you're seeing is the ability to help the people around him and play fast and make plays himself, which he did in the Giants game. So I've been pleased with what he's doing and the ability to cover the tight end, the ability to, we're going to send him in rush. He's tackling well. And so, but when did I actually see it? It's probably, the last 3 or 4 weeks where he started to really come out vocally and say, hey, this is my secondary and you guys have to, follow me.
So I think it's also very interesting to note another word, if we could talk about what a term or a phrase that you consistently hear when you're talking about various members of this football team is smart. Intellectual capacity quite high. And I think that is a very, very important point. Seriously. The fact that these guys are so smart, so cerebral, I think that is important. So if you have your notebook and your pen, make sure you write that down. Competitors, dogs, smart. I really think it's an important point. We'll talk about that some more. If not in this episode, we'll definitely get into it in future episodes. But let's continue to dive into more of Coach Joe Whitt Jr.'s press conference. Check out the next clip here.
And what's the trickle-down effect of adding a player with his talent to your defense?
Say that again?
What's the trickle-down effect of adding a player with his capabilities to the defense?
What do you mean trickle-down effect?
Whether it's in terms of what you can call as a coach, in terms of how it affects maybe Benjamin or Mike, in terms of what they are going to do too.
Oh, how it affects other players. Like I tell you each week, we're going to play the guys that gives us the best chance to win. So I'm not worried about a trickle-down effect there. We put people in position each week. Let's say Marshawn's not here. It would be the same way. So from that standpoint, the style that we want to play an aggressive style of ball, and that's what he is. And I just like the mentality that he plays with, what he brings to the room from a mindset of, I'm going to get after you. I'm going to get up and challenge you. If you beat me, all right, you're going to have to beat me again. He's never going to, back off. That's what I really like, and I think that's what will add to that room where we do have some young players that haven't necessarily been in some of those hard battles. He's battle tested against really good players.
And we'll go ahead and dive right into the next clip with Coach Joe Whitt Jr. He kind of pulls on this thread a little bit more.
To the point of affecting other pieces on defense, what does having a guy like that do for the pass rush, for the defensive line, knowing that, this guy out there, maybe he's going to cause some more problems for quarterbacks?
Well, let's not neglect what the guys that here have done. Okay. All right. I think, the only thing that we haven't done is intercept the ball. Okay. I think we're 5th in pass defense. Those guys that have been covering. Okay. And the sacks that we've had, yes, we've won some up time, but some of them are coverage sacks. So let's not act like Juice and Mikey and Noah and Chin and those guys haven't been playing solid ball. All right. They have. So one guy's not going to come and just change all that. He's added to what we're doing. He's not going to make us be what we're going to be. He's added to the group, and we're excited to have him. But I'm not going to sit here and discard the guys that we have that I'm happy that we have. All right, so let's not do that.
I so appreciate Coach Whitt saying that. The addition, right? It's an added it's a bonus. It's an addition. And first of all, Coach Joe Whitt making it clear, hey, the guys are covering. And I think it was also in this press conference when he said, hey, listen, this is the NFL. Guys are going to get beat. Like, you just cannot expect, like, it's almost an unfair expectation. And you all have heard me say this on several episodes as well. You just cannot expect the opponent not to score. They're going to score. They're going to score something, right? And there's going to be some plays where, yes, the defense are going to get beat, right? There are some very elite receivers and even the best of corners, like he gave the example. Hey, Marshawn gets beat. He get right back into it. All right, you got me there, but let's get back into it. He's not afraid of the smoke. And that is what you have to appreciate about not just his skill set and his talent. He's not going to go and let his head hang down when you beat him, but he's going to go back and he's going to get you back. So have realistic expectations, but also have realistic view of the team. As I said, and I meant what I said, if there was an area to get better, to have an addition, you had an opportunity to get better, you get a Marshawn Lattimore. That is what the Commanders did. Again, awesome move. But as the team is sitting at 7-2 going into week 10, hey, the team is holding strong and they're starting to turn heads. And Coach Whitt had to say, hey, look, we fit in pass defense. That is for him wanting to give a nod to the Commanders secondary. Fit in pass defense, okay? Or and like he said, let's not do that. So I included that clip because I thought it was a very important point for myself, for anyone else who could be feeling that like, hey, let's get this straight, get the numbers right. He's very happy with who they have. He thinks they're good. 5th in pass defense. Shout out to Coach Jason Simmons, who's the defensive pass game coordinator. He is pleased with what they're doing. Absolutely can appreciate Coach Whitt getting that record straight and making sure everyone knows his guys are doing what they're supposed to do. This is an addition, and everybody is really happy with this addition. So with that being said, let's move on to a topic that I know has everyone a little bit in a discomforting place, right? And that is the injury of Brian Robinson Jr. So we know that B-Rob was out for the Ravens with a knee injury last week against the Giants, was out with a hamstring injury, out again against the Steelers with a hamstring injury. My concern or my wonder was simply, okay, well, what's going to happen with Chris Rodriguez Jr.? Chris Rodriguez has already been up now 3 times, which is the maximum per NFL guidelines you can bring up a practice squad player. He came up 1 week for Austin Eckler when Austin was out with the concussion, twice for B-Rob, the 2 times that B-Rob has been out. So What happens? Does he get signed to the active roster? I mean, all of this remains to be seen, right? It's going to be interesting to see how this roster shakes out, at least at the time that this episode is published. We will see if anything comes out while I'm recording, but if not, then hey, here we are. So we shall see. And I gotta check my phone real quick because you never know. But overall, and you all know the running backs are a group that I have been tracking. If you've been watching my episodes, you've been paying a lot of attention to the coverage from Bowie Television, you know that I've been asking and it looks like we did get something. The kicker is out. Austin Seibert is out. Someone told me, let me go ahead and do this, you all. Austin Seibert is out. So we got to deal with Austin Seibert being out. All right. Which we already know, kind of interesting because, all of the things happened while I'm recording. They've signed Chris Rodriguez, right? Colson Yankoff is now on IR. The kicker, Zane Gonzalez has been signed as well. And they've had to elevate Zane Gonzalez and F.A. Obata from the practice squad. This was a lot. And this all happened while we were recording. So guess what? You found all that out. But with all that being said, I think this is a perfect time then to talk about what Coach Kingsbury, when I asked him about the running back room and how they're managing to continue to stay consistent through all the injuries. We'll look at Coach Kingsbury answer, and then we'll get into when I asked Dan Quinn the same exact thing. Hey there, Coach. So far this season, we've seen some differences, if you will, in the running back room, right? When Austin had to go out for Arizona, I think, of course, B. Rob has been inactive due to his injury. What can you say about that group just staying consistent despite the different changes?
Yeah, it's a credit to all of them, and they compete well. They communicate well. Coach Lynn does a tremendous job leading that room, but I think that's the coolest part is just they all support each other. Like when C-Rod got in and had some good runs, nobody was more happy for him than B-Rob, and that's awesome to see. That's not like that everywhere I've been, but I think that's the message of the competition in that room. They know whoever goes in can do it at a high level, and they continue to support each other.
And with that being said, let's move into when I asked Dan Quinn a very similar question, because Coach Kingsbury brought up running back coach Anthony Lynn, who we know has been a head coach in this league as well. Check it out. Coach, yesterday I asked Coach Kingsbury about the running back room, and he mentioned Coach Anthony Lynn. So from your perspective, what can you share what Anthony Lynn has brought to the staff and to that room?
Well, they were talking Red Raider love, these two Texas Techers. Man, what does Anthony bring? It's a long list of that, Candy. He's got one, incredibly high standards, for the entire room. And so it was no surprise to see, somebody in those rooms stepping into, spots for responsibility, whether that was, Jeremy, when Austin was down, whether it was Chris, when Brian was down. That doesn't happen by coincidence. And so Anthony's background, his toughness, like all of that kind of encompasses, what he brings, to the staff, to the team. And I'd say just incredibly high standards for the position, for the techniques. And when you're coached by somebody who's a real expert at something, like legit details of seen it all, done it himself, it does make a difference because they're ready to handle any scenario, and their eyes can tell the story. This is what I saw. This is where he was. I didn't see that cut. So those are important things at the position, and he adds a lot to us.
All very key and important because, again, we're seeing the fluctuating now. We didn't get into some of the challenges with having Austin Seibert, who's been so super consistent, to go out now, being downgraded to out for the upcoming game. I know folks are like, eek. But hey, he has a hip injury. And once it was known that other kickers are coming in to try out, that was certainly a red flag. of what could potentially be happening with the team. So to kind of close out this conversation on the running backs, I did do a one-on-one with running back Jeremy McNichols earlier this week. Check this out. Hey everybody, this is Candy Waller with Whitt TV, standing here with Washington Commanders running back Jeremy McNichols. Jeremy, how you doing?
Good, how you doing?
I cannot complain. So tell me about how you are enjoying the season so far.
It's been great. You know, all the work that we put in the offseason just coming to fruition. But, I mean, we're only halfway through. We like what we did the first half, but we just got to buckle down and keep going to the second half of the season.
So Head Coach Dan Quinn, as well as Offensive Coordinator Kliff Kingsbury, consistently mentions you as one of the players that whatever they ask you to do, you do it. You get it done. You step right up. How do you keep that consistency and just being ready when your name is called?
I just want to win so bad, and that's why I'm here to help lead and help just help contribute with every way I can to winning, special teams, offense, whatever it may be. I think we just have a bunch of guys throughout the locker room, coaches, just in our building that just believes in just winning whatever it takes every single week.
Another thing that Head Coach Dan Quinn mentioned earlier this week was around your mentorship, so to speak, with Chris Rodriguez in the game that he had this past week. So what's the relationship you're building with Chris as well as the entire running back room?
Well, I mean, it's great. I mean, I got to meet Chris early on in this process of OTAs. I've been in his situation before, so I know how it feels to just have an older guy come up and just be like, hey, I believe in you, I trust you. Go out there and just play ball and know what you could do, and just give him that extra confidence that he needed, and because we needed him. He had to step up, and we needed him to play a big role in the game. So whatever I could do to help my teammates and the guys in our running back room or whatever room it is, just to give them that little bit of encouragement, is why I'm here.
So up next is the Pittsburgh Steelers. So what are some of the things you have already noticed that the Steelers do very well on defense?
Everywhere. I mean, they got a great front seven and a great back end. They can get to the passer. They can disrupt any offense in this league. They have great players all over the place, and coaching is awesome. You can see how hard they play from whistle to whistle, and they play great as a unit. It's going to be a great test for us this week to see where we are, and go out there and just play hard and see where the chips lay.
And you all actually have a short week next week, right? So you have the Steelers on Sunday and then the Eagles on Thursday. So is there any other extra preparation or just rehabbing you all have to do since it's such a short week?
No, I mean, our focus is Pittsburgh Steelers. Whatever happens after that is we deal with it after that, but we're fully focused on Pittsburgh Steelers. And then after that, we'll continue on with our next opponent. But everything that we have this week, all of our energy, all of our focus is on Pittsburgh.
All right, Jeremy, thank you so much for spending the time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So, even Jeremy had to say, we're only focused on the Pittsburgh Steelers. He couldn't even get into the Eagles. He's like, hey, we got to focus here. Maybe I'll ask him next week after they hopefully win in another win and move to 8-2. But we'll see what happens. Again, while I was recording, you all, what happened? Chris Rodriguez is signed to the active roster. We kind of figured that would happen with running back Brian Robinson Jr. out. Tight end Colson Yankoff headed to IR. Also of note, kicker Austin Cyber has been downgraded to out. That is very important. Kicker Austin Cyber downgraded to out. They just signed Zane Gonzalez to the practice squad, have now elevated Zane to the active roster. Active roster, also of note, defensive end F.A. Obata also elevated from the practice squad as well. We'll keep moving along in this episode. I did ask Dan Quinn some of his favorite plays for the year because I was interested. So many of the Commanders' plays have landed on highlights in a positive light. Sometimes you see Commanders on the other end of the spectrum. But this season, they've been on various highlight reels, all in a positive way. So I asked him, what were some of those favorite plays that didn't make the highlights? Check out his response. So not anything that may have made the ESPN SportsCenter highlights or anything. Have there been any plays so far this year where you were like, wow, I cannot believe they just executed that very well?
That did not make it. Yes, awesome questions. There was a last week in the 2-minute, I was getting ready to, see if we could get into position for a field goal. And so Diami breaking a tackle on like maybe a 3rd and 19 or something, like that was not what I was thinking. At the time I was getting into space. Could we get ahead, call a timeout, move closer to get a field goal? So those are fun ones where, okay, it's about to change. You think one thing's going to happen and the next one goes. On the special team side, I love the energy that the kickoff team brings in to go generate some. So those are fun ones on the field, Candy, that you feel this energy that comes from them on the kickoff, and it transfers into the defense a lot. So those would be some things that may be a regular play, but on the sideline, a hit, a tackle by Jeremy Reeves just kind of lights everybody up. And so those would be two that come to mind.
So I hope you all had your notepad and your pen so that you were making a note and jotting down what those special plays are. Because sometimes those are good to know. And absolutely, shout out to Jeremy Reeves. Absolutely been balling. Absolutely, wide receiver Diami Brown has been making an impact as well. So shout out to the whole team, but wanted to definitely get his take because those were some of the plays that I have been noting as well. So it lets me know that I'm on the right track. If you all are just tuning into this recording, maybe you've heard already or not, right? We already know Brian Robinson Jr. is out. Kicker Austin Seibert also downgraded to out versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Running back Chris Rodriguez is signed to the active roster. Kicker Zane Gonzalez was signed to the practice squad and already elevated to the active roster, given that Austin Seibert is out. Defensive end F.A. Obata also elevated from the practice squad. Tight end Colson Yankoff headed to injured reserve. Now, you all, let's get into some feedback that we heard from the coordinators and Dan Quinn on the Steelers. You definitely want to be taking your notes on this to see what you see tomorrow. Already get your homework in to see what they've already shared and educated what they had already seen from the Steelers. Let's go ahead and get into these clips here.
As a coach, just kind of game style, does a game like this kind of get you a little more excited when you know it's going to be a little bit of a kind of rock fight between the tackle or between the offense defensive lines? It's not going to be as wide open as some NFL games are these days.
No, I get excited for every game. I mean, this is an opportunity that we only get 7 of these guaranteed opportunities, and so we look at every week the same. It's championship week. All right, so this is the game. This is the show. This is what we're all about. This is how we're going to get down. So it's fun because it's the next one.
And how about that? Every game is a big game. This is how we get down. Coach Joe Whitt Jr. also shared a little tidbit about himself, about how he prepares for games. Check this out.
I just thought it was interesting. You mentioned you listened into some of the Steelers interviews this week. Also mentioned you'd listened into Marshawn's interview with us yesterday. What's the advantage of maybe getting to know a guy that's on your team or listening to another team's press availability?
I think I said that when I first came up here, when we first took the job. When you listen to other people, they might give you something, and so that's why I'm cautious of what I say here, because I don't want to give them something. And so, but I've listened to Mike Tomlin, one, because he's been a big influence for me. I watch his Tuesday every year, all right, and then the opponent that we're playing, I watch the players, see what they say, watch the coaches, the offense coordinator, defense coordinator, see what they say. You might get something, or you might not, but it's part of it. It's part of the process.
So you all have heard me say in previous episodes about competitive advantage and how it's almost like what we say here, what we do here needs to stay here. Well, it doesn't necessarily happen that way, right? You have to be careful what you say. And you all may have heard me say in much earlier episodes about hey, sometimes some of the questions or some of the things that even I may be asking and thinking about, that may be lending itself to competitive advantage. So you have to assume if Coach Whitt is listening to press conferences, I'm so certain so is everybody else. Very important point. And perhaps it'll help even ourselves if we're paying attention and listening to these press conferences as well, because you might learn a whole lot. Let's continue on with the clips. Hey, Coach, so you kind of already addressed one of the questions I had about the previous game because you mentioned tight end Theo Johnson's touchdown. So you addressed that. I won't go back to that one. But for the upcoming game, what are some of the strengths that you have seen so far in the Steelers offense at quarterback? They have seen success with both Justin Fields and now Russell Wilson. So what have you seen specifically out of that position?
Well, Russell for a long time, he's a guy that plays on time. Okay. He can get outside the pocket. He doesn't run as much as he used to, but he still can create and get the ball where he wants to. Like I talked about, he's very accurate outside the numbers. He understands the run checks and how to if he sees a look that he doesn't like, how to get him into the right run. So he's a smart quarterback. Justin, he's smart as well, very athletic. They probably pull him and run him more, like the Giants did with Daniel. You have to really concern yourself with his feet. But it's really a whole offense that Arthur wants to run. They're a run first, play action. Let's shoot the ball up the field and control it and play to their defense. They have a really good defense.
And Dan Quinn had some more to share as well on Russell Wilson.
First of all, when you're dealing with a quarterback, so Russell Wilson, you talked a lot about his success. Particularly, he's been really successful deep in the pocket versus shallow or rolling out. Obviously, without giving away any strategies or anything, like as a secondary member, how does that impact your mindset going into the game?
I think, number one, you better be ready for it to come any part of the field. Sometimes when a quarterback may roll out to one side, you can cut that part of the field off where it'll just be only thrown to this side. With him and the arm strength that he has, he can be on one side and go across the field deep, or vice versa, all the way out to his left and going that way. So being on top of scramble plays and keepers and play passes, that's a big deal. But some guys just like to get deeper, to have escape lanes, that are outside. Others, want to be quick, to go in the B gap. So Russ has more experience, on the outside of things.
Listen, I know a lot of people were saying, Russell Wilson has, lost a step and all this, that. Hey, look, but they're doing enough to still win football games. And they did enough to win football games under Justin Fields. They've done that since Russell Wilson has been back. Something absolutely to watch out for. This is not going to be an easy game for the Commanders. This is one of the things that I've asked Coach Kingsbury regarding the defense, because you still want to see that strong offensive showing for the Commanders offense. But the defense still has a lot on their hands as well. So I definitely asked Coach Kingsbury his thoughts on the Steelers defense. We will play this clip and then we'll close out. What are some of the strengths that you've seen so far this season in the Steelers defense?
Yeah, taking the ball away and creating negative plays. They're coverage-wise very sticky in man coverage when they decide to do that. And then the pass rush, it doesn't leave you much room for error. So you have to be very precise. You have to stay on schedule. And there's going to be some plays that we got to find ways to get the ball out of our hands and not, take negative plays on first and second down.
One thing I can say about Coach Kingsbury is he's very concise. He's very concise in his responses, but he's concise and he's accurate, right? It's concise, but he's very specific and accurate. He gets straight to the point, and he's going to just tell you like it is, move on to the next question. So, Commanders fans, even during this recording, all of the things started transpiring, right? We already knew, we were kind of waiting to see. The team was prompt with the injury report on Friday saying, hey, Brian Robinson Jr. was out. But let's see what was going to happen with Chris Rodriguez. So that in itself was already interesting there to see what happened there with Kostanyankov going to IR. It was kind of like, okay, here we go. This is able to work. So interesting already with the moves. It is a short week. I can tell you all, and being very transparent, I always get a bit anxious on short weeks, and this is for any team because it's just hard on the body, right? It's hard on the physical body. It's a very physically, very physical game, as you all know, and both of these games are going to be tough, to say the least. So we shall see what happens. Commanders fans, you're going to be there. Cannot wait to see you all with your towels because we know that Pittsburgh Steelers fans travel very well and they bring their terrible towels. And so what a dynamic idea. And for ownership to take that idea and make it happen so that the Commanders fans have towels of their own. So, oh, look. When they have their yellow towels and the Commanders have their burgundy towels, it'll actually look like a sea of burgundy and gold around there. How smart is that to do? You all, if you're going to the game, absolutely have fun. Maybe I'll run into you before the game. Sometimes I do come outside of the press box and walk around for a bit if I'm able to. But if not, I hope you all do enjoy. If you're not going to the game, you can always follow my post. Here is my X at CWall SE. If you're following me on Facebook, you definitely want to be subscribed to Bowie TV so you can get all the information, see some of all of the inside sights and sounds. Hopefully, it will be a good one. With that being said, you all, I will be seeing you all again soon. Make sure you tune in to the live. I do a live. I'll do one now. I'm not sure about Thursday night now. So that's a whole nother story. I'll know by Monday. But Sunday game at 1 o'clock. Monday, the game recap will be live at 7:30. You can find it right here on the Bowie TV YouTube. Or if you're following me, you see it there on that stream as well. Can't wait for either, regardless of how the game turns out. You all always come with all of your great commentary and questions. So I can't wait for it. All righty. I'll see you all very soon.